trust and partnership that AmCham established with you and your team when you were Minister of Economy and Minister of Foreign Affairs.
I need to congratulate American Chamber of this increasing trend of popularity from 90 to 200, which means that American Chamber is becoming very, very popular in this country, and it gathers the main business force of this country, really, on which we all need to congratulate you, really. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I am very delighted to be here. I'm very delighted to have a chance to discuss our agenda with all of you, and the fact that we are engaging in this discussion is, I think, is very useful for us, first of all, to define joint interests of all society, and I think this is something we are focusing on to make this process generally more and more inclusive. First of all, I would like to say a few words about our foreign policy agenda, on which I think we are very successful during the last several years. We signed association agreement with the European Union. We had several successful association councils with the European Commission. We are following our reform agenda under the association agreement. The reforms are comprehensive, touching many areas, reforming our institutions, legislation, approximating towards European standards, deep and comprehensive free trade area agreement, DCFTA, and reforms related to DCFTA are very important on our agenda. Association agenda is coordinated by Prime Minister. DCFTA reforms are coordinated by the Ministry of Economy. And these are most important issues on our agenda to make this country more and more democratic, to build institutional democracy, to improve this country, to build DNA of this country as of a European country, and to promote and position ourselves in this region, in South Caucasus, as a European country with European legislation, regulations, a little bit lighter than of a typical European country, a little bit less bureaucracy, flexible bureaucracy, with excellent geographic location, with excellent workforce, low energy costs, and of course free trade agreements with all our neighbors, with European Union. Recently we launched free trade negotiations with China. Hopefully we will complete the negotiations by the end of this year. So this is this makes Georgia outstanding in this region, with its track of democratic reforms and with its degree of being liberal, open, and I think this is the way we need to follow. Euro-Atlantic integrations is one of the, again, most important foreign policy vectors. We are reforming our country, democratic reforms, as one important part of our Euro-Atlantic aspirations, and also making Georgian military system more and more compatible with NATO standards, continuing our participation in international peacekeeping operations, and waiting for Warsaw Summit as a way to, again, get closer to NATO, increasing countries' defense capabilities. These are very important achievements. We ensured to have enough stability in this country through constructive approach with our northern neighbor, and this allows us, first of all, to keep consistency with Europe and with NATO, which is a decision of Georgian nation and our constituents. On the economic agenda, we have quite interesting four-point reform plan. As Sarah mentioned, I have discussed it with some of you, and I would be glad to share the plan with all of you. The first block of the reforms is tax reform. We already approved at a government meeting the tax reform package, initial package, which encompasses the abolishment of the profit tax, transferring to Estonian model, introducing Estonian model where we will tax only distributed earnings. Maybe even more important part of this package is tax administration reform, to make tax administration more business friendly, to limit the time frames of tax inspections. Only tax inspection and revenue service will be permitted to conduct tax inspections. So tax police will no longer be allowed to conduct regular tax inspections. And also, it's very important that we are reforming also the mandate of tax inspectors, and also we will no longer freeze the bank accounts unless there is a court decision on that, which is also something as we consider revolutionary. Also, we are introducing, with regards to VAT, on import of machinery. Companies will use machinery. If the operation is subject to VAT, they will not pay VAT during the import of that machinery. So these are important changes, but this is not the end of this reform. Of course, we are working on the additional components, such as decriminalizing economic crime, and we are working on the components of this next stage. Important part of the first block of the reforms will be introduction of startup financing facility. And generally, I should say that we have this heavy post-Soviet legacy. We don't consider Georgia, no longer consider Georgia as a post-Soviet country, but still in the minds of people, we need to change the mindset of the young people to make it more entrepreneurial, which means that we need to provide education for entrepreneurship from the very beginning of in the secondary school ages. And of course, we need to provide startup financing facilities for young and innovative people. Next to this building, about 300 meters from here, is the new Technopark, which has been inaugurated recently by the Ministry of Economy and Innovation and Technology Agency, which is a space that provides an excellent venue for young, innovative people to develop their potential. And also we are going to use this space for startup financing facility. As main focus for this facility will be financing innovative startup endeavors. Second block of the reform is governance reform. First of all, as I already mentioned, we want to make the governance process more inclusive. Recently, we had an excellent meeting of the Investor Council, which is a platform of dialogue between government and major international financial institutions and investor community. Several leading business associations are present at this council. And we agreed on the principle that we need to come up with a normative act which would oblige government to first review all economic initiatives even before discussing it at a government meeting in this community and using this platform for this kind of discussions, which means that at least there will not be any negative surprises for the business community. And also it means that the quality of legislative initiatives, not only from government, but also from parliament, will be much higher, which means that there will be more degree of consent among the major stakeholders in this country will be much higher too. We are coming up with an initiative to create unified front office for the whole government, which means that individuals as well as legal entities will get any imaginable service from the government under one roof, which of course entails a lot of optimization in the government and increasing of efficiency, decreasing further any risks for corruption, and of course we need to create this physical space where we will have excellent communication facilities with back offices which will move from the center of the city to the outskirts of Tbilisi, and of course it will also free up the space for real estate development in the center of Tbilisi. It is, I think, also a revolutionary reform. We are writing the concept of this reform, and in the nearest future we will be glad to share it with all of you. Also, we are introducing monitoring and delivery control unit under the Prime Minister, which will not be a policy maker, but which will coordinate actions of different ministries and government agencies in order to increase the speed of decision making and the degree of coordination among various government agencies. Third block of the reforms is overhauling, modernizing the core infrastructure of the country much faster than we have today, which means that the main infrastructure, which is east-west highway connecting Turkey, Azerbaijan, Armenia, also highway connecting Tsketa and Larsi, Stepantsminda, and also several major highways connecting Kutaisi with major tourist destinations, which is Svaneti and South Georgia, Samtskhe Javakheti, will be built until the end of 2020, for which we are coming up with a new strategy of infrastructure works. We are actively negotiating this plan with all the major IFIs in Georgia and also major road construction companies in Georgia. We will need to create outsourcing mechanism of horizontal management of many projects at once, which will ensure at least doubling of the speed of infrastructure projects what we have today. Of course, we will also focus on the creation of irrigation system throughout the country, which will increase the productivity in the rural areas in agriculture, which remains as a key sector for Georgia. And the fourth block of the reforms is fundamental education reform. In the recent speeches I mentioned German model, and there was a misinterpretation of this statement. The German model means that we will develop professional education system called a dual education in Germany, which means that with the partnership with the private sector, and it will be PPPs with private sector representatives, and also there will be government initiatives to create professional education institutions where young people will be able to work and get education, professional education. And also we will reconsider the priorities of spending in the higher education, which means that we will need to change the picture. What we have today, we are producing potentially unemployed people. We are producing much more bankers than we need in this country, and the forecast can be done very easily. We are producing much more diplomats, international relations professionals, lawyers, business professionals, which is nonsense for me, to be very honest, to study 4 years for business for a young person. And this is, I think, we need to focus more and more on the needs of economy, and for this we are engaging now in a comprehensive needs assessment and study what we will need today, after tomorrow, and after 5 years in Georgia, and where we will need to channel the scarce government resources in order to make higher education system more productive and employment oriented. And of course, we will rechannel the resources that will be freed from the higher education to professional education under the PPP schemes. This is a 4-point reform agenda, quite heavy, challenging also because as a Prime Minister I need to combine this agenda with the pre-election process and with the party agenda, which is very, very difficult for me. But I think our team can cope with all these challenges. Two important reforms which are not included in this agenda because they are not new, and we are almost ready legislation-wise for pension reform, which we will launch in the 3rd quarter of the next year, and also capital market reform, where we have already completed diagnostic study and the roadmap for the capital market reform. And of course, these two reforms are also very important reform. Pension reform, the model, briefly I can tell you that this is a blending of Pillar 2 and Pillar 3 systems. This is conditionally compulsory system of savings where employers, and government will need to co-finance the system, and it becomes mandatory for government only after employee makes contribution to the system, and it becomes mandatory for employer after employee makes contribution to the system. So this is an interesting model where we will retain the basis Pillar 0 financing for existing pensioners, and of course we will cap the growth rates for existing financing at least by the inflation rate what we have in the country, which means that we will not experience increase of the existing pension system burden for the budget, and we will decrease the political pressure over any government in the future for increasing the basic pension in this country. And the capital market, it takes more time and it's more technical, so I will not start to explain it to all of you. But we cannot be, again, successful in these reforms unless we have broad support from private sector, from business community, and of course we rely on your support. I would like to thank American Chamber of Commerce and Sarah Williamson for this opportunity to speak at this audience, in front of this audience. This is a very important day for me. And of course, one last and important thing, which is the main mission for me as a Prime Minister and for this government, that we need to consolidate the society around positive goals. We need to decrease the polarization in this society. We need to decrease the tensions in this society. We need to make political process and economic development in this country more inclusive, without confrontations, with more willingness from the government to seek consensus among our society, first of all, and of course stakeholders in the business community. Thank you very much.